The Bittersweet Wish of Silas. Silas loved chocolate more than anything in the world. He loved it milky, he loved it dark, and he loved it filled with gooey caramel. His bedroom was a landscape of crinkly silver wrappers, and his dreams were filled with rivers of fudge. If only everything I touched turned into chocolate, Silas sighed one afternoon. The world would finally be perfect. While wandering down a narrow alleyway he had never noticed before, Silas found a tiny shop with a sign that smelled of cinnamon. Inside, the walls were lined with jars of shimmering sweets. Behind the counter stood a man named Sterling, whose eyes twinkled like sugar crystals. "I hear you have a very specific wish, Silas," Sterling whispered, his voice sounding like the snap of a crisp wafer. Sterling reached into a velvet box and pulled out a single, glowing cocoa bean. "This will grant your heart's desire," Sterling warned. "But remember, Silas, a world of only sweetness can quickly become a heavy burden." Silas didn't listen. He grabbed the bean, felt a tingle in his fingertips, and ran home, his mind racing with sugary possibilities. The next morning, the magic began. Silas rolled out of bed and reached for his blue plastic toothbrush. The moment his fingers grazed the handle, the plastic turned into a brittle, dark chocolate. He laughed and took a bite of the bristles, which were now delicious chocolate shavings. "It worked," he shouted, his mouth already covered in cocoa. At the breakfast table, Silas's mother, Elena, handed him a glass of cold orange juice. As Silas took the glass, the liquid thickened into a heavy chocolate syrup, and the glass itself turned into a solid chocolate chalice. Elena dropped her spoon in surprise. "Silas, what is happening to your breakfast?" she asked, her brow furrowed with worry. Silas went to school feeling like a wizard. During math class, he touched his wooden desk, and it instantly transformed into a giant, smooth slab of milk chocolate. When he picked up his yellow pencil to write, it turned into a long, crunchy wafer stick. He was the happiest boy in the classroom, surrounded by the scent of a candy factory. At recess, Silas ran to the field to play soccer with his friend, Milo. But when the ball rolled toward him and Silas tried to kick it, his shoe made a dull thud. The soccer ball had turned into a solid, heavy sphere of cocoa that wouldn't budge. Milo stared at the ball and then at Silas, looking very disappointed that the game was over before it started. By lunchtime, Silas was incredibly thirsty. He ran to the metal water fountain in the hallway and pressed the button. But as his hand touched the cold metal, the clear water turned into a thick, lukewarm chocolate stream. He tried to drink, but it was too rich and sticky. He just wanted a sip of cool, plain water, but his magic wouldn't allow it. When Silas got home, he was tired and sticky. Elena saw his slumped shoulders and walked toward him to give him a comforting hug. Silas shrieked and jumped back, his hands hidden behind his back. He realized with a jolt of terror that if he touched her, his mother would turn into a chocolate statue, frozen forever in sweetness. He began to cry, the tears feeling like hot fudge on his cheeks. Silas sprinted back to the narrow alleyway and burst into the tiny shop. Sterling was there, polishing a glass jar. "Please," Silas sobbed. "I don't want the chocolate touch anymore. I can't drink, I can't play, and I can't even hug my mom." Sterling nodded slowly. "The greatest treats are those we have only sometimes, Silas. Do you understand now?" Sterling snapped his fingers, and a cool breeze swept through the shop. Silas reached out and touched a green apple sitting on the counter. It stayed smooth, cold, and tart. He cheered and ran all the way home, where he threw his arms around Elena. He didn't care about candy or cake. The best thing in the world was a hug that stayed exactly as it was.